Yes, that's the only client registry I know. But I know there are discussions around maybe switching to something else. But until that happens, oh, we will just work with the one that's currently existing.
So what kind of API does it, or what kind of like transactions does it support? It's not HL7v2, is it?
No, it's basically it's all JSON. It's all JSON
So
through REST.
non-fire JSON, right?
Yes.
It doesn't support any HL7 based standards in summary.
We actually have
But it's also a REST API, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I mean, I think at that level, it might make more sense to have an adapter like on the OpenMRS level. If it's just a different format of JSON, I don't know. I think we'd have to take a look at how exactly it represents the data that we would need anyway, because the data here is not that complicated. It's mostly patient records, right? So translating a different format of a patient record to a Fire-based patient record doesn't seem like a biggest lift.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you can chime in, but it is not like heavy lift Peter and Anthony when you're doing like once, but as you know, everyone is using its own MPI. That is, I think, something you will not be able to like force people like, okay, just use this MPI because this is what we support. So you'll have to create, as someone was explaining, these multiple adapters inside that module, which we can do.
Right.
So let's say I know like 3 MPIs right now, like Sant MPI, GMPI. I don't know if you guys know that one. There is OpenCI. So just those three, you need to create like adapters inside the module. And in any case, those MPIs they suffer any update on their side, then it means we also need to change on our side. So if someone can allow me to share my screen, and I think we had this discussion, I think last year or the year before, if I'm not mistaken, Peter, with Arthur as well. Someone, can I share my screen? Hello?
Yes, let me see whether I can enable that.
And yeah, I think that sounds good. I think in general for what we design, though, we need to design for a standard and then give the option of someone to either have a small module on top of that that customizes that communication, or another way of creating those adapters. Because I think you're right. Like we can't force people to use a specific CR, but we can suggest that they use a CR that uses standard transactions, right? That's kind of the goal of standardization. So if we support that main workflow, and then if we have an edge case in Kenya, and we provide an example of how to customize or like how to translate a custom workflow into our workflow, or how to create an adapter, then I think that might be sufficient.
Okay. Yeah, so what we did, I don't hope you guys can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So what we did in the past was basically this. We had like, in our case was from Namibia, and we used Sant MPI. So Sant MPI is sitting here as the MPI. Then we had like an OpenHIM, which will also like deal with like authentication with the MPI, and yeah, among other things. Like in case like let's say you send like a patient to let's say you don't find that patient, and then you want to create the patient on the MPI. So OpenHIM will deal with things like retries and things like that. So it has those capabilities already. So it's a plus using something like this. And in our case, we had like other apps that wanted to connect to the MPI. So this was for us like easy, like everyone speaking Fire here at this level, and then OpenHIM was translating it to some MPI language. Let's say JSON formats that they use. But here is just like a mediator sitting here. And I think we had like basically 4 different, I would say, let me just see if I have it. Yeah. I think those were the main features, like the authentication itself, the search patient, the advanced search, and the registered patient. Those were the main things. Like there was also merging, but yeah, the most important part are these ones. And the moment you do this, oops, sorry, it's also easy. Anthony is speaking about like maybe changing MPI. So if you have this kind of architecture for your EMR, you don't need to bother about which MPI is on the other side. It's just a matter of coming to the OpenHIM and then changing things, and then the MPI, because I believe MPIs are not like deployed at facility level. So when you have this kind of infrastructure, you don't need to change. So basically, if you change your MPI, you don't need to redeploy any module at the AMR or the facility level. Just a matter of changing the mediator that is dealing with the MPI. If you change from something MPI to, let's say, AFIA or Kenya MPI, whatever, it will be implemented. You're still good inside and on the AMR side. So this is the proposal we had. So that module that OpenMRS client registered, the only thing he needs to know is it's basically to call those 4 or 5 APIs I was showing you using Fire. So basically, he expects to receive like a patient as a Fire patient. He expects to send like a payload to create a patient on the MPI as a Fire patient. So that's it. So you isolate completely the EMR. The other solution is what Samuel said. We will keep like creating the different adapters inside that module, but then that requires, if there is a new MPI and you want to use that new MPI, this needs to be updated. So that's how we approached this, and this is actually the proposal we wrote when we started this. I think 1 or 2 years ago.
Thanks, Odson. Any chance you could export that documentation maybe as a PDF or something and share it with me if it's okay? Or if the wiki is open to the public, you could just as well just share the links.
Yeah, I'll see if I can export the document, because this is like an internal wiki for the Namibia project. So yeah, but I'll see how to make sure this is like gets to you.
Okay. Thank you. So Anthony, what do you think? Should we assume that folks can use OpenHIM, or should we think in the direction of supporting adapters?
Well, so I think that in that diagram, I like the idea that it doesn't require any changes for the EMR side or module, and it assumes that the communication is Fire based, and where it's not, it just has an adapter as close to the non-Fire source as possible, right? Whether you use it OpenHIM adapt or whatever, like the key is that you have to have some layer between the non-Fire CR and OpenHIM that translates non-Fire to Fire, right?
Yeah,
and then,
I'm assuming in the model that Elton shared, the layer is living within a mediator, an OpenHIM mediator.
right, but what I'm saying is it doesn't have to be a OpenHIM mediator. It can be even whatever. It can be wherever, as close to the actual CR as you want, or as far away from it in OpenHIM as you want. But something has to do that function.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, some design considerations, depends on the usage of the context to support. For example, you are there with the client, so you need something really real time. So we can go with OpenHIM, but there has to be guarantee that there is nothing going to drop in between. Okay. Yeah, so I think we all agree that we need something in between to basically speak the language of the MPI. So if the source is non-fire, it should convert it to fire and communicate, and vice versa.
Yeah, and I think the part of like the real time, as far as that concern, I don't know, Amos or Arthur, if you guys like when we did this, if you had any issues, because like when it's just like is like, let's say, a synchronous call, it's just like the mediator is just there to transform the data. But when you, like, let's say you register a patient, you also, like, in some scenarios, you need like that acknowledge that that patient was actually created there, and then you expect the MPI to return you let's say the master patient ID so that you can associate with that record. But there will also be instances where you don't need to do that in real time, and because of, like, let's say maybe you don't have like a stable internet connection or something like that. But at least if you submit that, there is actually two sides of the coin. If in case you don't have like internet connectivity, you might also not be even be able to reach the MPI or to open him. So you also need to have like some sort of a retrial process inside the EMR, so you make sure that all of those patients that you created, they are let's say they have that master patient in the master patient ID. Let me just call that. I know you guys have other names for it, like each country has its own name. So you will need some sort of like a cron job or something that goes like every night, or then does that reconciliation of like, okay, I have all of these patients here, but I see no ID, and they were like marked to, let's say, to be created on the other side. So I think there's a lot of, like, I would say, architectural considerations here. But I think the only thing I like about this solution is basically you're decoupling the systems. You have that thing in between that makes sure you guys are speaking the same language at the end of the day. But it's not like I don't need to know what's on the other side. If it's like something PI, if it's OpenCR, if it's GenPI, or any other thing. So that's what I like about this solution. It can, as Peter was saying, it can be OpenHIM, but you can also create like your own module that does that, and then you make sure you're sure that, okay, the communication here will always be real time. I don't need to be aware of like anything OpenHIM, but as we also know, OpenHIM is part of like, I cannot mistake of the global grid that makes sense to use. It's like part of the HIE thing. So yeah, but I think it's up to us here on this call to decide which route we want to pursue. And then I think a lot of work was being done already on the module that Peter was working previously. So it's just a matter of seeing, like, if are we supporting all the endpoints we need, and then maybe setting up like an environment. I think I was chatting with someone today in the morning, and he was talking about like setting up like some sort of Postman something. You said someone. Maybe you can expand on that.
No, that was, I thought of like setting up like a Postman kind of like mock server that kind of like mocks how the MPIs would respond in given scenarios, like for search, blah, blah, blah. As opposed to having like a real MPI hosted somewhere on a dev or a staging server somewhere. It's something I was thinking about.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, I would also. I know, Elton, you've went at length in sharing your experiences with Namibia. But any chance? Sorry for putting you on the spot here, Amos. Any chance you could? Because I'm aware that you did the configurations, the OpenHIM bit of the configurations. Do you want to like kind of like share your experience with that? Any challenges you faced?
For open, sorry. Hi, everyone. I didn't do much of configurations. I did much of communicating with and from OpenHIM. Yeah.
Okay, so how
That's
hard
what you're
was?
asking.
Yeah, I just wanted like if there's anything to share in terms of like challenges you faced, like the experience you had in like OpenMRS communicating to Santi MPI that is, I'm not sure if it's Firebase, that is not Firebase. How hard was it for you to configure the mediators? Were there existing mediators already developed by the Santi MPI team? Did you have to develop that manually? Was it so complicated? Any challenges?
So
Okay.
I can reply to that.
Okay.
So the mediator was built by the Namibia team. So as I was saying, like they let me just share this diagram again. Okay. This one. Yeah, so basically the thing is here. So the P tracker is here, as you can see. I hope you guys can see. Let me just make this thing a little bit bigger. P tracker is the system that we use. It's based on OpenMRS, it's for PMTCT. So when we did like I would say we added the PMTCT with O3, like the O3 version of the PMTCT module to them. That's when we did that. And who built the mediators here was the Namibia team, because they also need to use this same thing in this system, eQuantum, EDT, TB tracker, and any other systems they have in the country. So this was like a way of like, okay, let's just make this, let's just like standardize this, and then make sure everyone is speaking Fire here. So as you can see, like this is the architecture, and then from these mediators here, the Santi MPI mediator, you then just like call the authentication, other like endpoints that were required here for this communication to happen. And of course, this mediator here, or these mediators, they are available, and I believe the team would be willing to share as an example. And we can also, as part of like I will talk to Asen, if they're willing to share, we can use this, and we can create like template mediators. If people want to use OpenHIM, we can show them how can they set up with OpenHIM, and then you can basically share this with people, because mediator is just what is code. Is just like you can decide to write this in Python, you can decide to write this I think in Java. So there is many ways you can do this mediator. But as Peter and Anthony were saying, this can be something different. You can build your own thing here to basically be a converter from this guy that doesn't speak Fire, putting something here on the spot here, to something else. Because when they started the team, I remember they actually talked with the Santi MPI team to see if they were willing to move into like Fire. They are, but the roadmaps were not aligned, so they decided to do this. I don't know where is the code, but it's somewhere. Let's see if it's somewhere here. I don't know if the whole code is here. This is like some of the technical documentation they have. So let me see, someone, if you can share this thing with you. Let me talk to Asen first. I just requested the links to show you guys during the meeting, and I'll let you know.
Okay, this is really helpful. Yeah, but ultimately, I think we need to think about it wouldn't be a terrible idea to think about supporting adapters natively in the module. Because when you think about scaling, I'm imagining not all use cases. In some use cases, OpenHIM could be an overkill in such scenarios. So, talking about the existing work, I was, hopefully you can see my screen. So I was navigating through this A couple of tickets were set up. I think they were specified by you, Peter. And when you work through this, when you read through this, the description, it aligns with what we are trying to solve, with the approach we want to take. So Peter, you raised a pull request here. I think it was a draft. No, it was ready. Peter, what do you think? Where did you leave things? What do you think? Would it be a good idea if we considered building or working on top of this branch? Is this something that still fits in what we are trying to solve? Would this be a good starting point for us? Over.
Well, I'm not sure, Peter, if you're talking, but if you are, then yes. But Samuel, I would maybe take the chance and say yes, because this work was actually part of like the discussions. Arthur, I think you were also involved. Maybe you can also chime in and say something, because this was part of the initial discussions we had, and we already shown it because all of this documentation. And as you can see on this ticket, it actually put the video for the demo that actually we did. And there is also their branch for the for the front end work that actually Samuel did in the past. So, but going back to the architecture, I think one thing I would like also to stress out is like part of the, I don't know if you are aware, but I mentioned during the micro front-end call, there is a squad that is thinking about like interoperability. And one of the main goals we have as that squad is basically to make things generic enough for the EMR so that the EMR doesn't need to implement, how can I say, a lot of like specific things. Like let's say if you want to use like an external lab system, right? You don't need to know which lab system you're talking about, because we know that there are like maybe 3 or 4 things that are basic when you're like interacting with the lab system. You want to like maybe create, let's say, let me just say 2, for instance, or 3. Like, let's say you want to create like a lab order, and you want to know the status of that order, either it's the result or to track that lab order. So I think that's universal in almost all lab systems, right? So the idea is to create like layers in OpenMRS that they just know that, okay, this is what I need, this is what I expect. And then how it's implemented on the other side, I don't care, as long as it returns me the correct data. If I send like a lab order ID, it gets me the status of that lab order ID. If the system is OpenLIS, if it's like Tonight or maybe Bamboo LIS, doesn't matter. So this is the idea that we are bringing, because this idea of like having to like because it's also maintenance, like I would say, burden for the community to keep like how can I say, coping with what other tools are doing. So some MPI now has this like let's say endpoint to authenticate. Tomorrow, if they decide to change, then you need to change the OpenMRS code as well.
Well,
And then
so
the,
just quickly,
Yes.
based on that, I think the goal is to, if we are going to decide on a standard way of doing things, the best way to do that is to actually root it in standards. So I think when we were doing this work, the goal was to follow the OpenHIE architecture and then the related PIXM and PDQM, basically those profiles, those implementation guides that govern kind of the communication with the client registry. So I think the way I was always envisioning it is that we design a module that speaks the standard communication with a Fire-based API, a Fire-based client registry. And like you said, if we have a non-Fire-based client registry, we just suggest the building of an adapter that is able to translate to the language that we're speaking. But that language has to be rooted in some standards, or otherwise, like, yeah, like you're saying, we have no assurance that other, solutions will speak that same workflow.
Yeah, I think Peter, we aligned on that. I think the main question that remains here is that do we do that adapter inside the module or outside the module? For at least for me, I'm in favor of not doing it in the module.
I would not do it in the
adapters
module either. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there could be, like I was saying, a couple different options based on because I could see a situation where maybe someone needs to create a submodule, like a smaller module that just does that translation in OpenMRS because they don't have the ability to, I don't know, stand it up somewhere else. Or I could see it being an OpenHIM mediator. I could see it being a different type of mediator. I think we just have to allow flexibility and make the module itself as simple and clear as possible, but with obvious ways of modifying the actual language. That's where I'm not sure about.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think
for me that's
yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, for me that's okay because it's just basically on our module here, calling our module the OpenMRS like client registry. It will be just like you pass just the URL, and you expect that whatever you call complies to those URLs, and then just like the payloads, the exchange, it's on fire. If that module, if it's like a small module inside OpenMRS, I think you will just like basically put the OpenMRS like a base path there, and then it will know how to call it. And we just need to see if there is will not problems with like cores and stuff, but I think it should work. And if it's calling an external, like let's say system, should also work. But the good thing is that at least the front end should not change. It will be always calling the same things, and then it's done.
So if I may ask, maybe what I haven't understood is how this will work real time. Like for the case that I mentioned. I know having this outside works and OpenHIM works. We've used it extensively for our mobile applications data exchange. But I'm trying to understand how, having the adapter outside can also, be still, can I say real time with results?
Yeah, it can. That's what we did. I don't know, Samuel, if you can open that video.
Yeah, sorry. Where do I find the video?
It's there. It's there. Wait, don't click nothing. Go down. This video there. If you go down slowly.
Oh,
There.
this.
That one. Yes. And looks who was demoing it.
Samuel from the past. What would you like to say to your past self now that you're older and wiser?
Yes, I think here is a scenario where you created the patient, and then you also created on the MPI, and I see that the health IDs is assigned, and that happened in real time, right? Oh,
Yeah, that happened in real time.
yeah.
But of
so
course,
and this was. Mhm.
yeah. Yeah. Continue. Sorry. Continue.
No, I was just wanted to say to Anton. So this was actually calling an MPI through the OpenHIM. So even the search, like I think the advanced search, was also doing the same thing. I don't know if you can skip into the part where you do the search of a patient, Samuel. Yeah. So you're seeing here's the MPI and everything. So this all of this communication was on real time. It was in real time. So there was no issue of like any delays or anything unless you have any network issues. But regardless of that, this yeah, it was working perfectly. And most of the things were actually being done from the front end. That's why you saw someone from the past there changing the like using the dev tools to change some of the configurations. But then that's when we discussed it with Peter. Okay, let's make sure that all of this is actually done to like an O mode so that we have it like on the back end, and then everyone just can like this mode you can just use, and we don't do these things on the front end. So yeah, answering your question, it's real time. So I see we
Okay.
have 3 minutes left on someone's call. So
Yeah, on my free plan.
Oh, you can switch over to my link if you want.
sure, great, sure.
I'll
Yeah,
grab it
so
for you. Actually, here, I'll just give you the O3 link. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay if
yeah, it's okay with me.
Does that one work?
yeah.
Nope, that doesn't work. Sorry, I typed it wrong. 1 second. Zoom O3.
Going to
I better add support for that one too.
so Peter, would you with what we want to achieve, would you would you change anything in the architecture plan here?
It has left.
Oh, okay.
But it's best placed to answer that question. I wanted to try, but I think it's best placed.
Yeah, please do, because at the time I think you're working you're collaborating with Peter, so you're in a better position to
I would say no. I think we had captured most of the requirements and the implementation plan as well. So I think this was good to go. It was still work in progress. But yeah, it was work in the right direction. So maybe it just needs to be picked up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So my suggestion would be one, let's merge this PR, or let's just make one final review, merge this PR, and start like playing with this module and see where are the gaps, and then make sure we have these gaps like resolved. I'll try to see if we can use the Namibia documentation as a starting point. We can, if they accept, we can move like, or we can make a copy to, oh, Grace has shared something there. Let me just, okay, let's jump to the new link, guys, so we can wrap up the call if it's okay with everyone.
all right.